The man suddenly noticed a girl playing with a grenade. At first, he thought it was a toy. Upon closer inspection, he clearly saw that the girl was indeed holding a grenade. Thinking about the potential consequences if it were to detonate. To prevent panic, he quietly approached the girl, ready to snatch the grenade when she least expected it. Unexpectedly, the girl pulled the pin at that moment. The man swiftly ran towards her, snatched the grenade from her hand, and with all his strength threw it into the sea. The huge explosion instantly startled everyone, causing panic. The girl was trembling in fear. The man quickly comforted her not to be afraid. However, he noticed once again that another boy was holding a grenade. He hurried towards the boy, and using the same method seized it from him, then safely placed it on the beach. Luckily, the boy hadn't pulled the pin yet, as others gathered around. No one understood why there were grenades on the beach, leaving the man puzzled. It seemed unsafe to stay any longer. As people began to evacuate, something even stranger happened. The man suddenly realized the sand around him was sinking rapidly. He kept calling out to his friends for help, but as they approached, they found the quicksand expanding continuously. In a matter of seconds, a huge deep hole appeared. His friends immediately get a towel, attempting to pull him out, but even with all their might, they couldn't free him from the quicksand. Instead, he sank deeper. The situation became extremely dire. At that moment, a girl riding a bike noticed them. Hearing their cries for help, she quickly ran towards them, then found board, supporting her body with it. To prevent herself from slipping down, she instructed the other two to hold onto her legs. Then she grabbed the man's hand, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't move him. As if an invisible force was pulling him in the quicksand, the girl told them to fetch the tubing from her bike lock. Then she handed it to the man, ready to help him breathe with it. But at that moment, the quicksand collapsed again, engulfing the man entirely. Just as the situation became critical, the rescue team arrived. The captain immediately ordered his team to pull out an iron rope. Then they extended it into the quicksand. With everyone's collective effort, they finally located the man and successfully pulled him out. The girl was playing on the water slide. The next second, the slide suddenly broke. The girl was instantly terrified and at a loss. She tried to stop herself from sliding with the friction of her body, but the slide was too slippery. The girl was pushed to the edge of the slide. She cried out loudly for help. The coach heard the cries from the girl. He quickly slid down. By this time, the girl was already hanging in midair. She was about to fall. She kept calling for help. Her cries alarmed a couple playing in the water. The man rushed to the rescue. By this time, the girl was trembling with fear. Her fingers were about to slip off the slide. At the critical moment, the coach grabbed the girl's hand. Immediately, the man also arrived. He grabbed the girl's other hand. Together, they pulled the girl up. This magician named Maroni was performing an underwater escape act. His assistant locked chains around him, then put away the key to the chains. Maroni picked up a 75-pound iron ball at the other end of the chain and jumped into the ocean. He was supposed to free himself from the chains while submerged, but just as he sank to the seabed, the key, which was wedged between his toes, accidentally dropped early. Maroni began searching everywhere for the key. The audience on shore waited eagerly for a miracle to happen. In reality, Maroni struggled to break free and began to drown. Noticing his distressed lifeguard, Parker promptly dived into the water and swam toward Maroni. When she reached him, Parker first provided him with oxygen by mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, then helped him search for the key. Maroni seemed to be reaching his limit at this point. Luckily, the key was found. Maroni skillfully unlocked the chains from his hands and feet, and then surfaced in front of the anxious audience. Meanwhile, lifeguard Parker quietly hid to the side, letting Maroni enjoy the applause of the crowd alone. Make sure children don't play alone. When you're not watching, they might cause big trouble.
Oh, you're the bad guy!
Just a while ago, a single mom accidentally cut her wrist. With the help of the kind neighbor, she was rushed to the hospital. Before leaving, she asked the two to take care of her boy, so firefighter Andy turned into a housekeeper, starting to clean up the blood on the floor. Meanwhile, Officer Ryan began a toy gun battle with the boy.
You got me, Detective Milo.
Both of them having a great time. The boy suggested seeing the police badge. Ryan, without hesitation, took it out for the boy to play with. Soon the busy day left the two exhausted. They sat down together to chat, when unexpectedly, the boy picked up a real gun, aiming it right at them. The two instantly froze.
Whoa, Milo, put that down. That's not a toy.
Milo, put the gun down.
The next second, he unlocked the safety.
No, Milo!
The recoil threw him back. Andy hurried to check on him, took out the bullets immediately, and he kept comforting him when suddenly Ryan's voice came from behind. It turned out that the boy's unintentional shot had hit Ryan's belly. Andy quickly placed the gun on top of the cabinet and went to check Ryan's injury and called 911. She was put on hold. By this time, Ryan could no longer speak. Andy hurriedly called his father, who was a paramedic, begging him to come over and save Ryan. Then she began CPR. Although his father arrived in time, the bullet had struck a critical area. Sadly, Ryan had lost too much blood. As a police officer, Ryan was killed by the young boy accidentally. Afterward, the police station held a solemn memorial, honoring him with a 7-gun salute.
What is looting? This group of people demonstrated it to the fullest. Just now a department store caught fire. The firefighters had just arrived at the entrance when they heard loud bangs resembling gunshots. Everyone thought there was a shooting and ducked down in fear. However, it was just fireworks exploding inside the store. The firefighters carried hoses inside. The HVAC system pulled up most of the smoke, but there were no sprinklers. An old man was stuffing candy into his pockets by the handful, completely ignoring Travis's attempts to stop him, only leaving when he couldn't carry anymore. Travis used the intercom to ask everyone to get out and leave their stolen goods behind, but no one listened. Fortunately, it didn't take long before the fire was put out. As they prepared to wrap up, Jack suggested they check for any remaining unburned fireworks, but Maya refused. Checking would take at least an extra 45 minutes, and she didn't want to work overtime. She instructed everyone to set up fans to clear the thick smoke from the store, but they didn't realize the consequences this decision would bring. Meanwhile, Ben was bandaging a teenager. The boy's arm was severely burned. Casually, the boy revealed that he and his friend Chris had set off the fireworks as a prank, but now Chris was nowhere to be found. Realizing the seriousness of the situation,
Did you evacuate a kid with burns? About 14?
Negative.
Ben without hesitation went back into the store to look for him. As Travis searched the store, he found a boy hiding under a chair in a fitting room. The boy begged him not to shoot. Why would a firefighter have a gun? The boy explained he had always known he'd end up in a shooter situation eventually with all the news reports and drills at school. Travis assured him, "You're not dying today." The boy said he couldn't move his legs and had wet himself in fear. At that moment, Ben entered, but the boy wasn't Chris. While Ben and Travis were talking, the store's fireworks exploded again.
Jesse, it's just more fireworks, okay?
Travis quickly dragged the boy out. Ben continued searching and finally found Chris hidden in a box, his face badly burned from the explosion. Ben had no choice but to carry him out urgently, rushing him to the ambulance.
Tens of thousands of tons of lava were rapidly pouring into the city of Los Angeles. Firefighters standing ready dared not relax for a moment. A large number of fire trucks quickly arrived on the scene and used their fronts to hold the city's last line of defense. However, at that moment, the chief suddenly ordered all firefighters to turn off their hoses. They were to wait until the lava reached the edge of the wall and then open the valves all at once to stop the lava flow. Everyone present was instantly breathless with tension. Soon the surging lava touched the wall, and even the fire trucks couldn't withstand the immense pressure. People's expressions became visibly tense. The scorching lava mercilessly devoured everything around. The entire street turned into a living hell in an instant. By then, the wall could no longer hold back the surging lava at the critical moment. The helicopters coming to support finally arrived.
Open them up! Open hoses!
Millions of tons of water poured down from the sky. The entire city was instantly shrouded in steam, soon after the lava finally stopped flowing. But before people could celebrate, the chief suddenly received an urgent call. Lava erupted tens of meters high from beneath the hospital. Gangbangers secretly hid something in the fire hydrant. One day, the squad went through the process of flushing fire hydrants. However, this action nearly cost them their lives. Not long after the fire station was suddenly under gunfire. Fortunately, there were no casualties, but when the cop asked if the team had offended anyone, everyone wore a puzzled expression. But the vigilant lieutenant still noticed something amiss. 3 gangbangers hovered near the fire hydrant, while their leader stood guard on the roadside. Matthew probably guessed the reason for the attack on the fire station, and a bold idea sparked in his mind. He decided to confirm his suspicion, so he witnessed how these people used the fire hydrant for dealing. Matthew appeared before them and demanded to see their leader.
Not a cop, not armed.
Matthew plainly stated that he had seen their secret dealings.
Someone tried to pop a couple shots into her house in broad daylight. Could have killed someone. Someone who works to protect this neighborhood every single day. You hide it in the hydrants, it's gonna get flushed. This is our neighborhood. You don't own it.
Every time the woman comes home, she has to be slapped hard by her boyfriend so that he can satisfy his perverted psychology. Little did they know that the butcher was watching their every move. The 2 men entered the hotel for exciting surveillance. The butcher on the other side was enjoying the sight so much that he was burning with desire in order to cool down. He came to the freezer, grabbed a female corpse's thigh, and chopped it off. It turns out that this is a human flesh inn that specializes in slaughtering guests. The nightmare of these 2 couples is about to begin. The blonde with big boobs was originally a lady in a dance hall, but she was bullied by her boss every day after get off work. But then Brother Chong broke into her room and he raised his gun and was about to blow the head off this unsympathetic boss. It turned out that Brother Chong was attracted by the beauty of the busty girl in the bar just now, so he took the risk to save her. Then Bo May put all the boss's money into her pocket. When the boss chased after them with a gun, the 2 had already driven a long distance away and exchanged the stolen money for a sports car. Afterwards, the 2 of them spent the whole day seeking excitement and ended up in this human flesh hotel by accident. At this time, the butcher's thin brother and fat brother were dealing with the corpse, and fat brother pulled the corpse into the freezer. This person is a single woman who moved in last night. They usually don't let their prey live. The next day, he sprinkled sleeping pills into the coffee and was about to serve it to the man and woman who came for breakfast. At this time, the mute girl imprisoned in the store reminded the two not to drink. Upon seeing this, the fat man immediately took out his shotgun, but he didn't know that the male protagonist raised his gun to confront him. Unexpectedly, the fat man was so timid that he threw away the gun and let the two go. At this time, the real boss of the Human Flesh Inn came out. After seeing the two turn right, he was very satisfied because the thin man and his wife were in that direction and he could intercept them just after killing them. The woman who got out of the car to check not only did not save the man, but instead opened the floodgates and released water towards the dying man. After doing all this, raised the gun and emptied the magazine. The reason why the woman was so angry was that her car broke down in an uninhabited area yesterday. At this time, the malicious man happened to pass by. He coaxed the woman into getting into his car and pretended to tow his car home for repair. But halfway through, the man couldn't control himself. He deliberately made sexual advances several times, and the frightened woman did not dare to resist. Fortunately, she was taken to the motel safely. But he didn't know that all tourists who stayed here would be killed by the butcher. The butcher brought his knife down with all his might, and the woman heard the noise. She went to the window to check, and just in time she saw the butcher coming towards her with a calf in his hand. Fear instantly spread throughout her body. That night, the woman was afraid to sleep. Early the next morning, she hid in a car. Then the two couples drove away. Just when she thought she had escaped, a police car intercepted the couple. But the people who got out of the car were not police officers, but employees of the Human Hotel. It turned out that the two men had just killed a policeman a few minutes ago, and the girl got out of the car and ran away. Just when the skinny butcher didn't know what to do, his wife took out a 98K. It was obvious that even the skinny butcher was afraid that his wife would be shot, and he would no longer have the strength to escape. He was eventually knocked unconscious by the butcher and taken back. The men who were captured and brought back to the hotel were thrown into a deep pit, from which there was no possibility of escape. The women were taken to the basement. The good-looking women would be trained as slaves by the innkeepers, while the ugly ones would become their food. Just now, the woman was imprisoned by a man. In order to escape, she began to show off her hot body, and the fat guard was instantly aroused. Which cadre can withstand such a test? At this time, a woman took out ice water and sprayed it on the big-breasted girl, just because she was old and was very jealous of the woman's figure. The blonde girl being drenched in water aroused the fat man's curiosity even more. After the vicious woman left, she planned to open the cell door. Although she cleverly locked the woman up, she didn't notice that the woman had a key in her hand. The blonde took the opportunity to stab the key into her eyes. At this time, the vicious woman outside the door was strangled by a dog chain. It turned out that her butcher husband could not stand the woman's dominance, so he killed her in rage and eventually hanged himself in the pit. The blonde's boyfriend used the butcher's body to successfully climb out of the pit, and the blonde and her boyfriend escaped into the car. At this time, the innkeeper who heard the noise and rushed over kept saying, "Turn left." Because there is a shortcut here, the next second they actually turned to the left intersection. At this time, the two found that the boss appeared in front of them. Brother Chiang wanted to step on the accelerator, but the car suddenly stalled. After being surprised, Brother Chiang stepped on the accelerator and rushed forward. The innkeeper made a strange pose, as if he was about to activate some supernatural power. "It's so funny that you can be so calm. I really thought you were Superman." Finally, a woman who was trying to escape passed by and saw the dying innkeeper. She gave him a cup of Four Seasons tea and finally shot him.
The 2.80-meter-tall burly man actually attacked the short girl to death. But no one expected that he would kill the girl on the spot with just 3 punches. The moment the girl fell to the ground, her sister next to her became extremely angry and rushed forward to fight her to death. As a result, her recklessness almost cost her life. Fortunately, at the critical moment, a swift Muay Thai champion kicked out in time. Although the suction force of this top is extremely strong, it is still not enough for Lao He. As the second-ranked player in the underground fighting arena, it is not easy to meet such an opponent since his debut. Then he took off his shirt and prepared to have a big fight with Tony. Tony was not polite either, and quickly got ready to launch a fierce attack. Unexpectedly, his flying knee strikes and continuous elbow strikes were all blocked by the opponent. Seeing this, the sister flew to the back of Old Black. But even though her small fists flew up, there was no damage at all, and instead, Tony was kicked in the heart. However, just as Tony tried to attack again, but suddenly he felt weak all over, and Lao He took the opportunity to strangle him by the neck. Lao He thought that he had defeated Tony and became the best in the world. However, when he was about to leave, he suddenly found a tiny steel needle on the back of Tony's neck. Then he realized that his victory was just a fluke. He then brought the unconscious Tony back to report. When Tony woke up again, he was tied tightly to the chair with a gun on his upper body, electric shock device, and standing in front of him was the mastermind behind the scenes, Sang Biao. Not only did he steal Tony's elephant, he also tried to force Tony to work for him, and even branded Tony with a number. He pressed the electric shock switch himself, making Tony feel completely despair. It turned out that the conspiracy was aimed at him from the beginning. Faced with his beloved elephant being held hostage, Tony had no choice but to give in temporarily. Soon he was sent to assassinate a wealthy businessman. Then Tony quietly sneaked into the villa and knocked down all the guards in an instant. Then he took the target to the rooftop with a steel knife in hand. At this time, the police had surrounded the entire building. Unexpectedly, the next second, Tony jumped directly from the rooftop without being stabbed. But when the inspector came forward to take a look, he found that the rich businessman had only broken his tie, and he immediately realized that Tony must have other plans. The police then secretly found Tony and helped him remove the device from his body. At this moment, a counterattack is about to begin. The girl discovers that the death of her adoptive father and her sister are exactly the same. So he broke into the lair of Sang Biao alone to seek revenge, while Tony also came to rescue the elephant. The two of them immediately joined forces, but Sang Biao had already deployed a large number of troops to defend the lair. A fight broke out between the two sides. Tony was not afraid of fighting 10 people alone. He knocked down the enemies one by one with several flying elbows, but the girl was pinned to the ground by Lao Hei. He managed to escape by igniting the gasoline at the critical moment. Tony also faced the ultimate challenge. Facing the crazy attack of Lao Hei, he was defeated step by step. Eventually, the two fell into a railway tunnel and continued to fight to the death. At this time, several other brothers came over, and just when Tony was attacked and grabbed by the neck, he successfully counterattacked with a flying hook, but he was also kicked hard by Blackie, subsequently. The static electricity on the rails made the people punch, making a crackling sound and sparks flying from their fists. Finally, Tony seized the opportunity and killed him with a heavy elbow. At this point, Sang Biao had to show up in person. Although Tony was seriously injured, he still fought with him in hand-to-hand combat.